Hey, are you preparing for MSBI interview? Then I must say that you're watching the right video. Because when we talk about the solutions for business intelligence, MSBI right there on the top. Together with the Visual Studio and SQL Server makes the MSBI a number one tool that helps us in taking the right decision in our business activities. If we talk about the job career in MSBI, MSBI considered to be an excellent field because here we need to only focus on data flow, data presentation and data analysis, and it does not require much coding skills. As the company is becoming more and more data oriented day by day, a demand for BI consultant has increased drastically and hence every company needs a BI guy. If we look at the Google Trends report of last 5 years, then here you can see that the demand for business intelligence is growing day by day, as you can see with this report. So here you can see that this is my 2017 report and now we are in 2022, and you can clearly see that how the demand is increasing day by day. So with that report, we can clearly see that how the demand for a BI market is increasing day by day. So guys, here in this video, I am going to cover the MSBI interview questions, which includes SSIS, SSAS and SSRS. As you see on the screen, that is, what is ETL process? Difference between control flow and the data flow. Explain the architecture of SSIS. SSIS variable versus parameters. Types of cache modes in SSIS lookup component. SSIS pivot versus unpivot. What is aggregation in SSAS? Partition in SSAS. Types of relationships in SSAS. Named calculation versus named query in SSAS. How to create multi-valued parameterized report in SSRS. And many more questions, yes, we are going to cover in this video. It's my humble request, if you know any important MSBI interview question which has been asked to you in an interview, then do not forget to share that question in the below comment box of this video. It will be very helpful for others, and definitely in my upcoming video I am going to take up that question. So now let's start our video with the question number 1. What is ETL process? ETL stands for extraction, transformation and loading to improve the data quality by extracting the data from the various sources or from the same sources. So here in this image you can see that we have various sources like SQL file, text file, Excel file, CSV file and XML file. So extracting the data from the various sources or from the same sources, then transforming that extracted data and finally loading that properly transformed data into the data warehouse. So this is the job of an ETL process. So this process is one of the core part of data flow process and thus makes this question an important interview question. So no matter you have answered all other questions properly, but if you fail to answer this question, then no matter you are a fresher or an experienced guy, it is very much possible that an interviewer will not qualify you for next level round of an interview. So before going to an interview, I personally request you to watch this video completely and understand how to answer each question of MSBI. So now I am answering this question. Let me also talk few important tips from an interview perspective. I always tell in all my videos to all my students to follow that 3P's rule. What is that 3P's rule? So let me tell you here in this video. First P, always answer to the point. This is my first P. Answering to the point, you're showing an interviewer that your fundamentals are crystal clear. So this is my first P, answer to the point. It will really create an impact in an interviewer's mind that your fundamentals are crystal clear. Now let's talk about our second P. Always go prepared. Second P. Prepared. P. No matter you are a hero of your company, you have performed in many analytical systems and created many visual reports. But believe me, cracking an interview is a different ball game. where you have to speak technically right vocabularies with right answer. So always remember that a prepared developer has more chances of getting success than an unprepared superhero. Preparation is a key to success. This is the mantra which I follow, which I tell all my students before going for an interview. Preparation will help you to answer to the point. Okay, so always go prepared. Now let's talk about our third P. Be practical. P. Third P. Always speak your answer with some practical example. Yes, whenever you are speaking any answer, try to give small real-time example like invoice example, accounts example, stocks example, logistic example, or any example which you can give. Just give small example, a real-time example. This will create a great impact in an interviewer's mind that you know this question or this topic very well. Now let me also show you how to answer this question, this current question, with practical example. So it is good to start with a full form, the way we have started this question. That is, what is ETL process? So we started with extraction, transformation and loading. Furthermore, you can add that it is a 3-step process. That is, in step number 1, we do data extraction. So this is our step number 1. Extraction is a first step process of data integration part where the collected data from various sources, that is from SQL file, text file, Excel file, CSV file and so on. So this data get extracted and this extraction is done using the SSIS tools. That is, so here let me just show you that. So that is our source, Excel source, flat file source, OLEDB source, CDC source, ADO.NET source and so on. So extraction is done with the help of this SSIS tools. So this is the first step. Now let's talk about the second step, that is the transformation step. That is our this step. Okay. Transformation, as you can see, it is our second step. This is the area where we do some kind of transformation, cleaning process, massaging on the extracted data. Like for example, here you can see that I did the conditional split. Here I have added the conditional split. Here I did the data conversion. Here you can see that this is my first step of Excel source where I have extracted the Excel data. Then I did the transformation. All this comes under transformation. You can see that. Changing the customer name to the uppercase. This is again my transformation. Putting the condition. Again this is my transformation. Data conversion. Again this is my transformation part. So cleaning the process and massaging on the extracted data, like for example sorting, removing the erroneous data, bad data, data type conversion, calculation, lookups, merging the two files, filtering and many more. This transformation we do depending on the requirement, how we want a proper data as per our data warehouse design. So all this transformation depends on how we want this complete structure in our data warehouse, how we want the entire data in our data warehouse. Okay, so this is our second step. Finally the third step, that is the loading part. Yes, so once we done with all the changes, all the transformation, finally we have to load that properly transformed data as per our data warehouse needed. We load that data into our data warehouse. So this is our third step and final step. So loading can be done with the help of again destination components. As you can see that we have many destination components like ADO.NET destination, we have Excel destination, we have flat file destination, we have OLEDB destination and many more. So with the help of these destination components, we load the data into the data warehouse. Or sometimes we load the data or store the data in Excel file or text file with the help of flat file destination and Excel destination. Okay guys, so this is all about ETL process in SSIS. Let's understand the difference between a control flow and a data flow. SSIS core function to execute the packages, and each package consists of a control flow and the data flow. So here in this package you can easily see that we have a control flow and the data flow here. Knowing the exact difference between the execution of control flow and data flow is pretty important. So if you get this question in an interview, make sure that you answer it properly. Now let's understand how to answer this question. I recommend that you start with the control flow explanation first, because it is the starting point of any SSIS project. So if you see here, we have started the SSIS project here, and here the first tab you can see that we have the control flow over here. Okay, so control flow is a starting point of any SSIS project, then go for data flow explanation. So in a package we can have one control flow, and optionally we can have one or more data flow. So for example, if I drag and drop a data flow task here, you can see that. Now let me enable this also. So this is my first data flow, and here you can see that this is my second data flow. Okay, data flow is a task component and it is a part of control flow toolbox. You can see that, right? So if you want to execute data flow one or more times, then you can have multiple components like this, right? So in control flow we have three types of components. That is, first we have the containers, you can see that. Then we have the task components, you can see that. Then we have precedence constraints. Okay, so if you want to perform any repeated task in a loop, for example sending mails multiple times, then yes, we can go for containers. If you want to perform any task, like for example moving a file, so yes, we can use file system task. If you want to execute the SQL query, yes, we can use execute SQL task. You can see that. If you want to perform the ETL task, then yes, we can use the data flow task. If we want to write some script, yes, we can use the script task. So we can use multiple task components according to our preferences and need. And the third and final one is the precedence constraint. Now what is the precedence constraint means? So this arrow. So if I connect this one, now this arrow is called as precedence constraint. They link the two executables. An executable can be a for each loop, a for loop, a task component, or like a multiple data flow task component. You can see that, right? So this is all about control flow. Now let's go and talk about data flow. Data flow is purely based on the ETL process. So if you want to perform the ETL process, then yes, we can go and perform in our data flow task. So we have three types of components here also. First is the source component. So by using the source component we can extract the data. Yes, you can see that we have different types of source component. Then we have transformation component. We have common components. You can see that by using these common components we can transform the data, we can massage the data, we can remove the erroneous data, bad data, we can merge the two data by using the merge here. Merge component is there. We can do the data type conversion by using the data conversion component. We can multicast the data by using this multicast component. We can do many more things in the transformation by using this transformation components. And finally we have the destination components. You can see that by using this destination components we can load the data into the data warehouse. So this is the process of a data flow task. So in a package we have one control flow, but we can have optionally one or more data flow component according to our requirement. So summarizing this answer, that is, if you want to perform any non-ETL activities, then yes, we can go to the control flow, and by using this toolbox, by using these components, we can perform all the non-ETL activity like sending the mails, writing the script, executing the SQL queries, and many more. So if you are very specific of performing the ETL activities, then go for the data flow task or data flow tab, where you will find the SSIS toolbox according to the ETL
task. So for example, here we have all the ETL tools, like we have source tool for extracting, then we have this common tools and other transformation tools for massaging of the data, for doing the transformation, and finally we have the destination components which help us to do the loading process. Okay, so if you want to perform a ETL activity, then go for the data flow tab. If you want to perform non-ETL activity, then go for the control flow tab. So hey guys, this is all about in this answer. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to the next question.
Now before we jump start with our question number 3, I want to gift you my MSBI interview questions with answers ebook for free. Now to get this ebook, what you need to do, you need to share this YouTube video anywhere on your social accounts like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and send us that shared URL on our email ID, that is questpond@questpond.com, and get that ebook for free.
Explain the architecture of SSIS. As a BI guy, knowing the architecture of SSIS is very important. For a fresher, there is less probability that you will get this question in an interview. But if you are a senior guy, you might expect this question in an interview. So don't miss this question, prepare well. This is a graphical representation of SSIS architecture, as you can see on the screen. Just for your information, the way back in SQL 2000, this SSIS was called as DTS, that is Data Transformation Services, with less features like limited error handling mechanism, limited message boxes, inactive scripts, no deployment wizard, and so on. If you see today, SSIS is more powerful, a number one business intelligence development studio with error handling mechanism, interactive deployment wizard with wide range of components, and so on. So this SSIS architecture involves 4 key parts. So this is what you have to answer if you get this question on your table. That is, first is integration services runtime and runtime executables. So runtime services includes your connection manager, logging, SSIS logging, then the breakpoints, and so on. Then runtime executables like data flow tasks, other task components, containers, precedence constraints, and so on. Then the second one, the data flow engine, that is this one, that is the data flow task, where we do lots of ETL activity. Here we have the source component, here we have the transformation component, here we have destination component for doing the ETL process. If you want to elaborate about ETL, then you can refer to our question number 1. Now the third one is the integration services object model. So that is this one, the object model is also there. If you want to create a custom ETL application, then yes, you can do that by using this object model also. SSIS object model is a managed set of APIs that allows you to write the custom application command line utilities. SSIS object model lets you to create your own custom components to satisfy your ETL needs. You can create a source component that reads from Apache, Hadoop, MongoDB, MySQL, Postgre data sources, or any other databases out there. Okay, so by using this object model, yes, you can write your own custom ETL application. Finally, the integration services service. This is the instance of SQL Server database engine available only in SQL Server Management Studio. It is a Windows service for managing the integration services package. So hey guys, this is the 4 key areas of SSIS architecture. These are the 4 key points you have to highlight while you are answering this question. Okay, so this is all about in this question. I hope you understand this question.
Before we move ahead in this video, I just want to request you guys that please like this video and subscribe to our channel, because we are a very small team, a dedicated team working day and night to bring more technical content, more interview preparation videos for you. So your one like and one subscribe keep us motivated to create more such interview preparation videos. So support us by like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest upcoming videos.
Now let's move on to the next question. Explain the types of performance counter for SSIS. Answering this question in an interview is very important, because this will not only take you to the next level but also give you more freedom to demand for a salary hike. This will create a more impact in an interviewer's mind that you know something more that others don't know that. Why is that so? If you see, you will find many BI analysts who can easily design the data flow using the SSIS components, but only few of them, like seniors, like experts, have a skills to design the data flow and understand the tuning of SSIS package with respect to performance in mind. That's why I told you, if you answer this question, it will give you more freedom to demand for a salary hike. So if you want to be the best BI guy, if you want to be stand out in an interview, then you must know this counter, then you must tell this answer perfectly. And now let's understand how to answer this question. So here are those performance counters which are present in the SSIS. Let me just show you that. So let it load everything. So there you go. Let me add. Let's go here, add. That's it. Let's go here and let's check the report. So there you go. So these are the counters present in the SSIS performance counters for SSIS packages. These performance counters are grouped in 6 groups. That is the package execution, that is this one. Then the blob, this one, where we have blob bytes reads, blob bytes written, then blob files in use. Then we have the buffer, that is buffer memory, buffers in use and buffers pooled. Then we have private buffers, that is private buffer memory, private buffers in use. Then we have flat buffers, that is flat buffers memory, flat buffers in use. Then we have row performance counter, that is row read and rows written. So these counters reveal in which way the memory resources are acquired during the execution of SSIS package and help us to determine where the bottleneck situation is maybe occurring. So if you answer till here is more than enough, but try to explain one or more counters. For example, let's talk about SSIS package instances. This counter shows the current number of simultaneous SSIS packages running. So this counter will show you when simultaneous SSIS package is running. I'm talking about this, that is SSIS package instances. Then we can also talk about private buffers. So the number of buffers that transformation use. So this count will show when transformation uses some memory. Okay. Then we have blob bytes read, this one. Binary large object, it shows the number of bytes of blob data that data flow engine reads from all the sources. So these are the sum of the explanation for this counter. You can explain any of these counters as per your own knowledge. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. I hope you understand this question, but try to elaborate. That is the 6 group performance counter, that is a package execution, blob, buffer, private buffer, flat buffer, row performance counter. That is more than enough. If you want to elaborate one or two, it's more than enough. Okay. So now let's move on to the next question. Explain the types of cache modes available in SSIS lookup component. So here we have the lookup component, as you can see that. Let me just double click it, and here we have the cache modes as you can see on the screen. So by default we have the full cache mode, then we have the no cache mode, then we have the hybrid of this two is the partial cache mode. So first let's talk about the full cache mode. When your dataset is small or moderate as compared to the input source data, then we can simply go for the full cache mode. It works best with the master data, as you can see on the screen. Like we have the country master, we can have the product master, we can have state master, and we can have menu master by using the full cache mode. Full cache mode does not require multiple round trips to the database, since the entire reference data set is cached. So it means that my dim country is completely cached into this full cache mode, that is prior to my data flow execution. So before the execution start, my entire table is being cached here into this lookup component. Okay, so this is the advantage of using the full cache mode. Now let's talk about the second mode, that is the no cache mode. Now we will talk about the no cache mode. As the name says, here the dataset will not be cached into the cache memory. It will not cache anything. Whatever the request comes, it will directly send it to the data warehouse, and the data warehouse will do the cater that request accordingly. See guys, I feel this is one of the best settings to have when your input data is smaller than the data set. When you want to disable the cache mode, it works best. So if you want to just disable the cache mode, just say no cache, that's it. Or if your input data is smaller, then simply you can say no cache. Do not need to cache your entire table just for the small input source. Okay, now comes the third and the final mode, that is the hybrid of two, that is the partial cache mode. This is like a hybrid mode of other two. Partial cache mode means the value from the input source first checked into the cache memory. If the value does not exist, if that value does not exist, then it will query to the reference data warehouse. Then the same value is loaded back into the cache memory, so that the next time the request comes, again it can easily query from that cache memory. Now, when to use this mode? When your reference dataset is large, yes, when this dataset is large and source data is small in terms of unique combination values. So for example, let me just tell you one example here. Consider that our source data is having the 1000 records and the reference dataset is like 100k records. Though we have 1000 records, our unique values are just 100 only out of our 1000 records. So it means, let me just show you. For example, let me just open up my notepad. Suppose my country ID for India is 1 and we have 3 records for India, something like this, 1 1 1, and the country ID for UK is 2 and we have 3 records again for UK, and for country ID for Australia is 3, we have 2 records. So it means we have 8 records over here, but our unique combination values are just 3 only, that is 1 2 and 3. So this is the scenario I was talking about. Though we have the 1000 records, our unique values are just 100 only out of 1000. So it means if we use a full cache mode, then the 100k records caching will be done, and this 100k caching will slow down our package. And if we use the no cache mode here, then all the 1000 records will be queried to the data warehouse. Again there will be load in the data warehouse. So if we use the partial cache mode here, then it will process only the 100 queries, which is the perfect solution for this scenario. So concluding all this, using the correct cache mode, for the job can have huge impact on package performance and server load. Okay, so hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to the next question. Understanding the SSIS variables versus parameters. Parameters and variables help us to pass the value to the SSIS package. If we want to set any value dynamically or statically, then we can use either parameters or variables in a SSIS package. Creating style of parameters and variables both are same. So for example, if we want to go and create a parameter, then we can go to this parameter tab, and here we can click on add parameter to create a parameter here. Here we can set the data type, here we can set the static value and other details over here. And if we want to go and create a variable, then yes, we can just need to right click on the control flow area and we have to say variables, and there you go. Here also we have to say add variable here, and you can see here we have the data type. Again, here also we can set the value, and the only difference between the parameter and the variable is that here we can set the expression also for the variable. If you want to set any dynamic expression, if you want to do some kind of a dynamic activity, then yes, you can do it by using this expression area. And you can also set the scope also here, like which area you want this accessibility of this variable. Here you can define the scope also. There in the parameter we cannot able to define any scope. There in the parameters we cannot able to define any expression. The biggest difference between the parameters and variable is that if we want to pass the values from an external way to a SSIS package before the execution of package, then we can use the parameters. Yes. So if you want to set or if you want to pass any value before the package execution start, then we can take the help of parameters. That's why here we don't have any dynamic expression part, because here the parameters values are passed to the SSIS package before the execution start. There the variables are used like a internal variables within the package. Hence there we can set the expression for dynamic activities. Parameters are more like a public properties, whereas variables are more like a private properties. So within the project, if you want to do some kind of a private activity like passing the variable, doing some dynamism, setting up the machine name or setting up the date, time or anything, then yes, we can take the help of variables. Variables are more like a private properties, whereas parameters are more like a public properties. If we consider this SSIS package as a class object, then definitely these parameters will become a public property or global properties, whereas these variables will become a private properties because they are only accessible within the SSIS package only, not outside of the SSIS package. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to the next question.
If you are looking for more interview preparation videos, then do visit our website, that is www.westpond.com, where you can find lots of step-by-step videos and lots of interview preparation videos on MSBI, SQL Server, Power BI, C#, .NET and lots more.
How to schedule an SSIS package? Again, this is a very important interview question. You should know how to schedule an SSIS package. Now let's understand how to schedule an SSIS package. In order to schedule an SSIS package, we have to take the help of SQL Server Agent. And in order to do the scheduling of the SSIS package, so first and foremost is that first we need to do the deployment. Once our package has been deployed into the production server, then only we can do that scheduling of that SSIS package. Okay, so first step will be your deployment. Once your deployment has been done into the production server, then you can do the scheduling of the SSIS package with the help of SQL Server Agent. So enable the SQL Server Agent like this and click on the job, new job, and here you give any nice name, let's say my SSIS, and yes, go to the steps, click on new step, give any name over here SSIS, and here the type will be the SQL Server Integration Services package. So there you go, and give the server name and give the package here. So there you go. So since all this my packages are deployed here into the production server, that is SSIS DB, that's why I'm able to see this here. So select the package, say OK. In case if you want to do some kind of a settings, like if you want to change some kind of a parameters, then yes, you can do that over here. In our last previous question, we talked about the parameters and variables. So these parameters nothing but give us a flexibility or accessibility to change the value of this specified parameters. You can see that in case if you want to do some kind of a 32-bit runtime change, then yes, you can do it from here. In case if you want to do some kind of a connection changes, yes, you can do it from here. So once everything is done, say OK. That's it, and go to the schedules, say new schedule, schedule it as per your preference. So how you want, once in a day, twice in a day, you have to just specify the time, day, weekly, how you want to run. You just need to specify everything, all the details over here. Once you are done, say OK. In case I want to run one time, and that is on this time, I will say OK. That's it. So this is how we have to schedule the SSIS package. Okay, so we have to do it with the help of SQL Server Agent. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to our next question. How to pass a variable as a parameter in an Execute SQL task. Again, this is a very important practical interview question, so don't miss this question. Now Execute SQL Task component, it is a part of control flow SSIS toolbox. So here you can see that. Okay, so here first we need to drag and drop the Execute SQL Task component here, and if I double click on it, so here you can see that something called as parameter mapping. So here in the parameter mapping, we have to pass the variable as a parameter over here in order to satisfy this question. Okay, so for that, let's go and first create the variable. So for that, right click, variable, add a variable, and here I will say name var. So this will be like a string, and the value will be Vandana. So for now, so let me show you my SQL query here in the SQL Management Studio. So here you can see that. So this is the query I'm planning to execute here. So let me run it. So you can see that we got the 2 records over here. So now what I will do, let me just copy this query. Let's come here. Let me close this. Let's double click. First, let's create the connection. There you go. And put a question mark over here, indicating that here we are going to pass the parameter here. Here we are going to do the parameter mapping. Okay, I will say OK. Go to the parameter mapping, say add, and here I am going to select name var as our variable, and here I am going to pass nvarchar, okay, as @param name with the size as 255. That's it. I will say OK, we are done, and now let me execute it. So there you go, you can see that our Execute SQL Task component has ran successfully here. It means that we have successfully fired up this query and we got this result. Okay, so guys, this is how you have to pass the variable as a parameter in an Execute SQL Task component. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. How to send mails in SSIS? In SSIS, we can send the mails in two ways. First, by using this send mail task component, but for this task component we require SMTP connection. So if you see here, let's go to our mail here. So here we can provide the mail IDs, you can see that, but first we have to provide the SMTP connection here. So you can see that. So here it requires the SMTP server. So if you have the SMTP server, yes, we can send the mails by using this send mail task component. And here you have to put the message body, you can see that. And here you can give the attachments also. Okay. So this is the first way of sending the mails in SSIS by using the send mail task component. The second way is by using the script task component. But for this we have to know either C# or a VB code. So let me just show you that. So let me double click, and here you can see that I have passed some variables over here. So let me just show you that. So what I have passed my username, that is my email ID, username and password, so that it can authenticate, because here I am using the Gmail authentication. That's why to authenticate it I am passing my username and password over here. So this is how I am passing the variables over here. And now to edit the script, let's click on the edit script. The moment we click on the edit script, a new window opens over here, and here you can see that we have some C# script over here, and you can see that. So here I have written some C# code over here, like for example reading the message body and replacing some value over here. Okay. And here I am getting the SMTP server, you can see that, SMTP port, and enable the SSL or not, that also value I am getting here from the variable. So all these values I am getting from the variables, and this is my username and password. So here I am doing the authentication, you can see that, with the client, that is SMTP client, and here I am setting up my from email to email subject, and by using the mail message object I am sending the mail over here. You can see that once the mail is sent, I am showing up the message here with the message box here. So as you can see that by using the send mail task component and the script task component, we can send the mails in SSIS. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to our next question. SSIS pivot and unpivot. Pivot and unpivot both are part of SSIS data flow transformation component, and if you see here, we are there in our data flow tab, and if we go to our SSIS toolbox, here you can find we have two components called pivot and unpivot. So in one liner, if you want to answer this question, then pivoting means converting your row data into the column names. So let me just show you that. So here we have a table structure, you can see that, where we have month, week, values. In our week column we have the row data as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday. So if you want to convert the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday into the column names, then yes, we have to go for the pivoting. So here you can see that when we apply the pivoting, then this row data will get transformed into the column names. So let me just show you here. Let me just double click on this pivot component. So here we have pivot key, set key and pivot value. So in the pivot key we have to pass the week column here. So why week column? Because you can see that values in the input data of this column will become the new column names. Yes, because we want to transform this column row data values into the column names, that's why in the pivot key we have to pass the week column over here. In the set key we have to pass the month column, and automatic grouping will be happen if we pass this column here. You can see that identifies a group of input rows that will get pivoted into one output row. Yes, and in the pivot value we have to pass this value. That's it. If we set all these values properly, then automatic pivot will happen here. And opposite of that, unpivoting. Unpivoting means converting your column names into the row data. If you have this structure with you and if you want to convert your column names into the row data, then you have to do the unpivoting. Again, for unpivoting you can go and select this component called unpivot component. Okay, and all the configuration you can do it as per your unpivoting way. Okay, you have to drag and drop this component, you have to configure it to get this unpivoting result. Okay, so hey guys, this is all about in this question. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. What is aggregation in SSAS? Aggregation in SSAS means doing the summation or taking the average, doing the calculation by using the several other values present in the cube, and it also helps us to improve the performance of the cube by doing the pre-calculation of an aggregated values and storing them. So we are talking about this tab called aggregation tab, and in this tab you can see that we have something called as aggregation over here, right? So this aggregation we have not created manually, but it has got created automatically when we process the cube. Yes, you can also see there is a partition also. Okay, so generally what happens if we have not created any aggregation manually, then by default all the aggregation are calculated during the runtime. So if you see here, let's go to our browser, and if we just drag and drop this order amount, you can see everything is happening during the runtime only. So let me just show you with the year wise also, so you can see that. Okay, internally SSAS aggregating these values as per day, week, month, quarterly, half quarterly, and then it is showing the report as per year wise. So let me just show you the hierarchy here, so you will get to know. You can see over here how the relationship is been done over here. You can see that by date, by month, by quarterly, by yearly. It means in order to see the report of yearly, everything needs to be aggregated. Means date wise aggregation should be happen automatically, month wise, quarterly wise. Then you can see the full report via year wise. Then you can see the complete aggregation of the report via year wise. So this everything, all the calculation happens, all the aggregation happens internally automatically, and because of this aggregation happens during the runtime. And if our data is big, now because my data is small, then we can see the processing of this cube or processing of this report very fast. But what happens if our data is big? Then we can have a performance issue. If your cube is loading slow and performance problem, then we have to visit this tab called aggregation in Visual Studio to improve the performance. Yes, so here in this tab, SSAS help us to create the aggregation of the calculation in a pre-calculated way. Means here the calculation will happen before the runtime. Means when you create the aggregation here, everything will happen before the runtime in a pre-calculated way, and these value will be stored here in an aggregated way only. So it means that if we have the big data, if you create the aggregation, definitely you will see the improved performance in the time and in the cube processing time, and also while getting the results also. Now in order to create the aggregation, definitely we have to go here, say design aggregations, a wizard will open, say next, and here you can see that we have something called as aggregation usage. So we have default usage, we have full usage, we have none, we have unrestricted. So in case if you want to disable the aggregation for any of the dimensions, or then yes, you can just select this none here. You can see that none option is there. If you want to do the aggregation in a complete way, in a full blown way, then you can select the full permission here. You can see that full usage. Or if you just want to go with the default one, yes, you can go with this default one also. You can also set it to default over here and say next. So there you go. Here you can say count. If you want to count the aggregation over here, you can see that you can count over here, right? Say next. Now we are here in the set aggregation options screen, as you can see that. So here we have different types of aggregations, design aggregation. So how you want to design your aggregation, whether you want to design your aggregation as per your storage, or whether you want to design your aggregation as per your performance, or just want to say I just want to click and stop depending on your custom selection. Do not want to design the aggregation, then you can select as per your own choices. Okay, So default option I am going to select here as till the aggregation design reaches this storage, that is 100 MB. I am going to select that. Yes, I will say start. So there you go, you can see that. I will say next. That's it. No need to deploy and process now. I will just say save the aggregation but do not process them and finish it. So hey guys, this is how you have to create the aggregation in SSAS. In case if you want to improve the performance, in case if you want to store the pre-calculated values of aggregation, then definitely you have to go and design your aggregation. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. What is partitioning in SSAS? A very important interview question. Now let's understand how to answer this question. A cube is formed with the help of dimension data and a measure group data. Partition in SSAS cube holds the measure group data. Yes. So in a cube, partition holds the measure group data, and it also helps us to divide the measure group data or partition the measure group data into the logical partitioning object, so that instead of processing the entire big cube, we process the cube in separate chunks. This can have several advantages, such as improved performance of the cube, easy to do the aggregation on a particular partition, querying the result set will be much faster and easier for maintenance. So in simple words, we do the partition if our cube is having a big data like a millions of records. Then this partitioning this big cube into the smaller logical chunks will help us to improve the processing of the cube and the performance of a cube. So for example, if we have the records, let's say from 1970 to 2022, then yes, we can do the partitioning of the cube as per the year wise. So for example, here you can see that we have the calendar from 2010 to 2015. Yes, we can do the partitioning, like for example from 2010 to 2012 we can create one partition, 13 we can create one partition, 14, 15 we can create one more partition. And in order to create the partition, yes, we have to visit this tab. You can see that the partition tab, and here we have to first delete this existing partition which is created automatically when we have processed this cube. Yes, so this partition is automatically created when we process this cube, and here you can see the measure group data table also, that is fact customer table. So let me just show you over here. You can see that. So this partition, as I told you, hold the measure group data. You can see that. And this is a storage mode, which is nothing but our multi-dimensional OLAP. Okay, and for a separate partition we can have separate aggregations also. So in order to create a new partition, first we have to delete this automatically created partition. Then only we can go and click this new partition and create this new partition with the help of this partition wizard. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. Explain the types of SSAS storage modes. So hey guys, we have three types of storage modes in SSAS. As you can see that we are here in our partition tab, and if we click on this storage settings, so here you can see that we have three types of storage modes, that is MOLAP, ROLAP and HOLAP. You can see that, right? This is MOLAP, ROLAP and HOLAP. MOLAP stands for multidimensional online analytical processing. ROLAP stands for relational online analytical processing, and HOLAP, the hybrid of both two, the above two, that is hybrid online analytical processing. Okay, so these are the three types of storage modes by which we can deploy and process cube. Okay, so let's first start with the MOLAP. MOLAP is the most used default storage type, as you can see here also. So by default this storage type has been selected automatically, that is MOLAP. Okay, it is the most used default storage type. Here the data and aggregation are stored in an optimized format. Yes, and it is designed to offer the maximum query performance to the users. The only problem with this storage type is the latency. Latency is high in this storage type because data inside the cube will only refresh when the cube is processed. Okay, so the only problem is with this storage type is that latency is very high because the data inside the cube will only get refreshed when a cube is processed that time. Okay, so this is the most used default storage type, which gives you the complete query performance and gives you the optimized aggregation storage. Okay, now let's come back to our next one, the second one, that is ROLAP. Here the data and aggregation are stored in a relational format, hence the name is Relational Online Analytical Processing, and due to this there will be zero latency because the data is stored in a relational format. That's why here the latency is 0, means there is no latency. The only problem with this storage type, it gives you the poorest query performance because no objects benefit from the multi-dimensional storage. That's why. So this is about the ROLAP, that is ROLAP. Okay, now let's talk about the third one and the final one, the hybrid of both two, that is HOLAP, Hybrid Online Analytical Processing. In HOLAP, the data is stored in a relational format, and due to this there will be zero latency. And on the other hand, aggregation is stored in a multi-dimensional format in a cube to give the better query performance. Yes, here the data is stored in a relational format to give the zero latency, and aggregation is stored in a multi-dimensional format to give the better query performance. But with this storage we get the medium query performance as compared to the MOLAP. Okay, so hey guys, this is all about the storage types in SSAS. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. Explain the SSAS relationship types. Again, a very important interview question. Now let's understand how to answer this question. So first let's go to our dimension usage tab, and let me just click over here, and here you can see we have the types of relationships. There you go, you can see that. The first one is the no relationship. Then we have regular, then we have fact, then we have referenced, many to many, and data mining. So these are the SSAS relationship types present in a SSAS. Now first let's start with our no relationship. No relationship, the dimension is not related to the current measure group. Yes. So if you don't want any relationship, you simply select the no relationship. Next one, regular relationship. In this relationship, dimension table is directly linked with the fact table in a one-to-many relationship type, like a primary key and a foreign key relationship type. So here you can see that we have a table, a country table with a country ID, country name, and continent ID. Definitely the country ID is a primary key of this table, and primary key of this table will be there in this table as a foreign key ID. So this can be considered as a regular relationship, one to many, because one order can have multiple countries also. Definitely you will find a multiple entry of this countries, right? So definitely when you have one to many relationship, definitely you can go and select regular relationship. Okay, now let's talk about the fact one. The dimension and fact are derived from the single table. We should try to avoid this type of poor designing relationship. Consider a separate fact table and the dimension table. Never go with this relationship type where you have a fact and dimension in the same table. Try to have a separate tables for both fact and dimension. Now fourth one, referenced. Here the dimension table is not directly linked with the fact table. Let me just show you that. So as you can see that the dimension table is not linked with the fact table directly, that is this one, but it is connected via the intermediate dimension. So when you have this type of relation, when you want to display the amount via the continent wise in a cube, then definitely you can go and select the reference relationship type. Then only you can able to get the results of Asia, America, the total order amount according to the Asia and America. Okay. Now let's talk about many to many relationship. Here the dimension table is connected via intermediate measure group. Yes, as you can see that we have the measure group over here. So if we have many to many relationship, then we can have a different measure group also altogether. So here you will find one more measure group will be created here when you have a many to many relationship scenario. Okay, so when you have many to many relationship, so for example, let me just show you that. So here you can see that we have a product table, we have a customer table. Definitely one customer can purchase multiple products and one product can be purchased by the multiple customers. So hence we have a intermediate table over here, you can see that, and here we have many to many relationship. So in this table we have many to many relationship. So hence you can see that one more measure group will be created for amount here. So when you have a many to many relationship scenario, in that case you can select this many to many. Okay. Now the final one, the data mining. This I want to give you as a homework. So please prepare it and share your answer in the below comment box of this video. Definitely if the answer is wrong, definitely I am going to correct it, or if it is right, definitely I am going to like it. So please share your answer in the below comment box. Definitely it will be helpful for others also to know the answer. Okay. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to our next question. Let's understand the named query versus named calculation. So named query help us to construct the table with a customized query with a customized column. So let me just show you that. Suppose we have a table like this. Now we are there in our data source view. Okay, and here I have selected the table. You can see that a time dimension table. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say right click and replace the table with the named query. Okay, so here you can see that a query window has been opened up, and suppose if I don't want any columns, suppose I don't want year name, I don't want quarter name, I don't want month name, then I simply unselect that and generate a new table, construct a new table with a customized query with a customized column. So if I say OK, so here you can see that the icon has been changed over here. You can see that, see the icons of this, okay, and see the icon of this. Okay, so as you can see that the name query help us to construct the table with a customized query with a customized column. Now let's talk about named calculation. Named calculation allow us to add the extra column, extra calculated column to the tables or view present in the SSAS data source view. Yes. So in order to create the named calculation, we have to select the table and we have to say new named calculation. So there you go, get order amount, and there you go, write the expression. So here I have written the simple expression with a case statement. You can see that I will say if the order amount is greater than, or I will say less than 9,000, then display silver customer. If the order amount is greater than 10,000, then display the gold customer, else bronze customer. Okay, so I will say okay. So there you go, you can see that a new column has been created over here, and this column is known as a new calculated column, a new named calculated column. Okay, so hey guys, this is all about the named query versus named calculation. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. What are the different data regions present in SSRS report? So if we go to our toolbox, that is SSRS toolbox, so here you can see that we have different types of data regions, that is the table, matrix, list, chart, gauge, all these are data regions present in SSRS report. So you can name any few of them whenever you get this question. So hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to our next question. How to create the multi-valued parameterized report in SSRS. So here in this report you can see that we have a single parameterized report. Yes, means here we can pass the single value only. Now what about passing the multiple values to the SSRS report? So let me just show you one more report over here. So here you can see that we have the country name with the drop down option. So here it means that we can pass the multiple values. So let me just show you my report data over here. And if we go to our parameter properties, so there you go. In order to make your report a multi-valued parameterized report, you have to select this option, that is allow multiple values. So if you check this option, then definitely your report will become multi-valued parameterized report. So let me just show you over here a view. So there you go. If you select all, you can see that I can able to pass all the multiple values to the report. If I say view report, definitely the report will be pop up here according to India, US, Australia. You can see that, right? So hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to our next question. Explain the different types of reports in SSRS. So here in SSRS we can create the wide range of reports. Some of them are like parameterized report. We have just seen in our previous question, a report is created by using the parameter. So hence it is called as parameterized report. Then we can create a sub report also. Then we can also create drill down reports also. We can also create the drill through reports, snapshot report, linked reports, and so on. So we can create a various options of reports in SSRS. Okay. So these are the different types of reports in SSRS. I hope you understand this question. Now let's move on to our next question. How to send the automatic report delivery in SSRS. Automatic delivery of report can be done in two ways. In any format we can do this, that is supported by the SSRS. It can be a Word file also, it can be Excel file, it can be PDF file. Automatic delivery of the report can be done in two ways, that is via email also and also via Windows file share also. Yes. So in order to do that, what we have to do, we have to visit this, that is SQL Server Reporting Services, which you will get it from here, that is Report Server Configuration Manager. Just go to the web portal. Kindly note that I have not did any email settings, okay, just for your information. So just go to this web portal URL, open this URL and just go here and open any report. Just double click over here, say manage. So here you can see that something called as subscription. So if you click on here, click on new subscription. So there you go, it shows you the types of subscription, how you want the report. So whether you want the report daily, weekly, monthly, yes, you can schedule it via here, no? Yes, you can see that. And destination, delivery method. So here you can see that we have only one option, that is Windows file share, but as I told you, we can also send via email also, because here I have not configured our SMTP server, that's why that option is not been enabled. But if you configure our SMTP settings over here, it will automatically show that option in this delivery method. Okay, so as I told you, automatic delivery report can be done in two ways, one via the Windows file share and another via email. Okay, so hey guys, this is all about in this question. Now let's move on to our next question.
Mention some of the open source softwares which are alternative to SQL Server Reporting Services. So hey guys, this is the last question of this video. So I would like to give this question as an homework. So prepare an answer for this question and share your answer in the below comment box of this video. Those who will answer correctly, for them I am going to give my MSBI and Power BI interview preparation ebook completely free. So do share your answer in the below comment box of this video. And thank you for watching this video completely. And before ending this video, do like and share this video. So thank you and happy job hunting.